Welcome into the Patio Horoscope Wednesday night edition. It is the 19th day, excuse me, of August. It's hard to believe it's August. Look, the hair even looks like it's in the heat here in August. As we're glad to be here with you, brought to you by our friends at MyBookie. Go to mybookie.ag, get in and play all of the prop bets, get in and play the futures, the totals, and more. Use the promo code PATIO. Patio is what you want to use, and that will get you a sign-up bonus on the patio here on the patio. Jake Wimberly, glad to be with you. Had great 3 hours today on the drive, talking a lot of high school and talking some college and all kinds of stuff. Let me get this other issue set up here. Let me tee the show up for you. We're going to get right on going here on a Wednesday night. We got Rafael Esparza on with us to talk all things college in the NFL. We'll have Rob Brown coming in at 8:30 with Sidelines, host of Sidelines.live, and Rob will talk SEC football with us. Big stories coming out in the NCAA today. We'll get to with Rafael Esparza and more. As a matter of fact, Esparza is already back here. Let's go ahead and bring him on and get him in. Rafael Esparza, MyBookie.ag, and others. Esparza, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I got you. Ben, how in the world are you tonight? Of course, we got a lot to get to. It's hot here in Mississippi on a Wednesday night.
It's hot everywhere. I mean, I speak to my friends and family in Vegas and Phoenix, you guys in Mississippi, my brother-in-law in Florida. It's just hot everywhere. It doesn't matter where you're at, unless you maybe in Alaska and Maine.
No, you're absolutely right. All right, biggest story of the day. I'm going to put this on the screen. I want to get your thoughts. You may have seen it. Broke late this afternoon as we look here, courtesy of X, LSU, former LSU edge rusher Jack Pyburn and current Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive end filed a lawsuit today against the NCAA seeking a preliminary injunction that will give him the option to return to college. Sources tell these guys, Chris Hummer and others on On3 Sports. I bring that up because there's like 10 guys now that are in NFL camps that are looking to come back to college. And think about this now. We're 10 days away from week 0. We're less than 2 weeks away from week 1. I think this is a case of one, these judges getting involved in the NCAA, which they'd have no business being. And the two, these guys know they're not going to make the 53-man roster. They're not. Have you seen this? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, you're dead right that they're not going to make the roster. And I'm glad that they're not. Boo-hoo for jumping ship thinking you were going to make it to the NFL because you either got bad advice, you probably got bad parent advice, because I think a lot of these kids make moves because their parents are telling them to make the jump, maybe even take more money like NIL and stuff like that. So to me, it's just you can't open up that can of worms and say, you just said week 0 is 10 days away. And you can't say, okay, you can go to LSU. There's no way, these players are going to accept this guy in the locker room, this kid in the locker room. And you nailed it. They're not going to make the roster.
Yeah, and I agree with you. A lot of people won't want him in the locker room, but then some will. Let's just say take Ole Miss, who has 3 guys that are looking to come back. If Ole Miss doesn't have a place for him and the transfer portal window is open, which it looks like it will be, let's say Ohio State needs another defensive end. What happens to the guy? I mean, you only got so many spots. If you have no spots, does a guy get kicked to the curb? I have so many questions about this today.
I still don't think other schools would take that just because you're opening up Pandora's box even wider than it is already. And now I don't want to hear, we'll use Ole Miss. Okay, Ole Miss accepts these 3 guys. The transfer portal is open. One of them goes to Ohio State, and Ohio State says, okay, we'll take you. And then down the road, 2 years from now, Ohio State's complaining because something happened to them. Well, they're the one that baked the cake. So you got to stop baking the cake and just dump the cake. Because if you keep on baking it and you keep on eating it, it's going to come back and bite you.
Let's jump over to some odds courtesy of several shops. I want to get your thoughts. I want to talk a little national championship odds. And, the AP came out. I know we talked on the Daily Show the other day about our like or dislike for the AP poll. I want to look at some of these real quickly. Let me see if I can pull this up just for the viewing purposes here on the retail shops here. When we look at some of these, and let me make sure, we got them right here. Let me hide that logo just to kind of get that out of the way there. So let's start with Notre Dame. And depending on the shop, and I know you've got numbers, you do numbers. Notre Dame right now at plus 550, Ohio State at 6-1. Notre Dame has been a favorite, I think, by Vegas, for most of the preseason. Your thoughts on Notre Dame at, right around 5 to 5.5 and their value? Obviously, you guys love Notre Dame this year.
It's not that we love Notre Dame. It's just the money keeps on coming in on Notre Dame. I tell people this all the time. If you see a favorite, does not mean Vegas thinks they're the favorite that's going to win it. That's telling you that the betting public is making them the favorite as the money keeps on coming in. Notre Dame, every year, Notre Dame has probably the top 3 tickets written for futures because there's so many touchdown Jesus fans out there. They're the Dallas Cowboys of college football. Yes, they're popular. Yes, this is our year. Do they make it our year? No. They're like my Chicago Cubs until 2016 when we finally won the World Series. It's just constant money coming in. This year's different because that schedule is very, very weak. So I think that's probably a little bit boosting a little bit more money coming in on Notre Dame, but you can still make it to the dance. Doesn't mean you're going to complete the dance, and I don't think you're going to complete the dance.
Now, Ohio State, this is a team that won it a couple years ago. Big Ten, obviously, we know 3 straight national championships: Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana. And boy, I tell you what, Indiana, there's some videos coming out of Indiana camp. Their new quarterback that comes over, Josh Hoover from TCU, he looks really, really good. We'll get to Indiana in a bit. But, here's what's interesting about NIL and pay for play is, it's documented by several sources like, the Wall Street Journal, also, Sports Business Journal and others. Ohio State spent around $25 million a couple years ago on that team they won. This year, they'll spend close to 40 to 50 if they win it. It looks like Ryan Day has got a really good football team. The AP thinks so. They're number 1 in the preseason.
Yeah, I just think they're spending because they need a win. I mean, the Michigan has their number, except for last year. Indiana surprised everybody. Everyone's talking about Notre Dame, Texas, Oregon on there. I just think Ohio State, they got the okay to write the checks because I think they just need a championship right now. They're almost like the New York Yankees back in the day. That's what Ohio State's remind me. They're just signing, and sometimes money doesn't usually pay. Don't forget Luis Gonzalez, the Arizona Diamondbacks, when they beat the Yankees, little base hit up the middle. That payroll for Arizona was not big, and I just think sometimes money doesn't pay. Look at Texas Tech.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Speaking of Texas Tech, but let's go to Texas. Everybody eye rolls Texas. We talked about Texas last week with you on here, and we've talked about Texas before. Nobody's going to believe Texas or Oregon right there. Oregon at 7-1, Texas at 7-1. But both have really good quarterbacks. Both have really good teams. And, when you look at Indiana right behind them and then Georgia and then Miami, I don't know if that's the cut line behind Miami. Where is the cut line to the real contenders this year?
I think it is right there. I think there's 7 teams that I would have up there. I think the cut line is Miami because no disrespect to the Bayou Bengals, LSU. I just don't think they're. I don't have them up there, and I can't say Texas A&M just because how many years have we said this is Texas A&M's year? So I think the cut line is Miami. I'll have Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas, Oregon. You know what? I'm not even going to say Indiana because I'm still not sold on them. I'll say Georgia, Miami, and then maybe I'm going to say Indiana might be that cut line because I would make Indiana probably double digits. I don't think they're worthy of the single digits to win it all.
Alabama down the chute there around 20-1, lowest ranking in the OP in 20 years, lowest odds, and gosh, you could probably tell me this, 20 years maybe since or 17 years. Are we undervaluing Alabama?
Yes. I mean, it's because they just bash them now. I mean, boy, ever since Nick Saban left, they're just a laughing stock, I think, of the SEC since Saban is gone. And it doesn't help when the media is trashing them, saying that, oh, this head coach stinks if he doesn't win 12 games every year. They should fire him. It's not Alabama's way. Well, this is not college football back in the day when Nick Saban was there. It's a totally different game, but I think they're a little bit undervalued. I just think their offensive line needs to play much better than we saw last year. I think that's why their offense struggled because their offensive line was not good. I'm not going to say they're better than Texas and Georgia. I think maybe even Oklahoma might be a little bit up there with Alabama. But I think the creme of the cremes of the SEC, it's got to be Texas and Georgia.
What about USC? I know we've talked about USC with you before. Lincoln Riley's been very vocal this year about his team. He likes his team. He likes his quarterback, Jaden Mavia. They're a team that, I think when the Pac-12 and they merged, essentially with the Big Ten, everybody would have said 10 years ago it's USC. USC is going to come in and wreck the place. They haven't done that. It's been Oregon. Can USC be a player not only in the Big Ten but nationally this year?
I think I like what USC has done. I mean, I guess their quarterback's going to be much experience this year, but they boosted their offensive line. And I think we talked about this last year. If you want to play the Big Ten, yes, there's a lot of new faces in the Big Ten, but you still need to play Big Ten football, and that's run the ball. And USC sometimes they likes to get a little bit too cute with their quarterback and their wide receivers and tight ends. So I think if they can run the ball, they'll be a little bit much better than we've seen in years past. But it's going to be very hard to beat Oregon and everyone else in that Big Ten schedule.
Hey, let's talk. Of course, Rafael Esparza is with us, and you can follow him on X, TikTok, and more. He's been doing sports. You've been handicapping how long now?
Wow, it's going to be close to 30 years.
30 years. So, I mean, he's one of the best in the business. That's why we get him on. Go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code, and you can patio, and you can get in and play with a sign-up bonus. So let me ask you about win totals, because a lot of people, I think, get confused with win totals. They'll see, oh my gosh, Ole Miss at only 8.5. I mean, what are you talking about? They just almost played for a national championship. Win totals, take us through how those are, not how the cake is made, but the rationale, because as a sports gamer and somebody that wants to, get action, you got to get action on both sides, right? So if you got people arguing over, no, it's 8.5. Are you kidding? They're above it. They're below it. You guys have done your job of that.
It's for this case right here. It's brilliant for us to do it because we're going to get the LSU lovers that's going to bet the under an Ole Miss, and you get to get Ole Miss saying, oh, it's screw Kiffin. We're going to go double-digit wins. So for us, it was a perfect number to get balanced action because you had two hateful sides. It was almost like back in the day when Tom Brady and the Patriots were just winning Super Bowls. We would set the number just tied lower than it actually should, but we had to because there were so many haters than there were believers of Tom Brady and the Patriots, so that we would get so much hate money. And right here is a perfect example. We're getting so much hate money on both sides to balance it off. So it's a great number. I thought it should have been a tad higher. I like this Ole Miss team. I think they're going to do well because they still have a chip on their shoulder. It's not like 2-3 years that Kiffin left. This is still really, really raw. And I think these kids, they're going to put the uniform on, want to play not only for their head coach, but for their state, for their fans, and for the logo that's on the helmet.
Yeah. And, when you look at a team like Georgia, who maybe has, and I did notice this, and unless it's changed, I don't have them in front of me, no SEC team with a double-digit win total this year, unless that's changed, which is very interesting to me.
That's why you already know my pick is Oregon to win it all, but I have Oregon beating Georgia in a national championship. It would not shock me. And you know me, I love to bash the SEC. Been doing it on your show for years past. But it would not shock me if SEC, if the only team I think SEC would win, it would be Georgia this year. It's the only team that I think they can probably win it all. I love their defense. I love the speed in the secondary. I love their running backs. Georgia's going to be a tough out. That's why I have them playing Oregon in the national championship.
Rafael Esparza on with us tonight. Let's shift over and talk a little NFL. First off, are you at least, I know you're not a big NFL preseason guy, are you at least intrigued with all the fights that's going on at camp?
I was really intrigued with the Saints. Who would have thought a former dad that's a former wrestler body slams a Cowboys fan? That's just great social media. But I know it doesn't really bother me with these fights. I tell people, everyone keeps on asking me, is week 2 betting action going to be much higher than week 1? You have to be put. Now that all these teams are playing another team in practice, the starters are going to play these practices. They're going to get these snaps against the other team that they're practicing. They're not going to get the snaps in week 2 preseason. Week 2 preseason is still for the backups and for the third stringers and maybe the fourth stringers who are still trying to make the practice squad. So I don't think just because week 2, the starters the starters are playing. They're probably playing a couple snaps, maybe one quarter. Are you going to risk your money, your hard-earned money, on a third and fourth stringer in the third and fourth quarter? Stuff like that. So be very cautious just because it's week 2. But I love the fights, and I love these teams playing another team in practices.
Let's take a look at the futures for the Super Bowl real quickly. And I want to get your thoughts on this because it seems like if we look at this, let me pull this in here. You'll see real quickly the Rams. It looks like from what I see, I mean, the Rams are sitting at 5-1 to win the Super Bowl. We know how talented they are. And then 10-1 for the Bills, 11-1 to the Ravens and the Seahawks, and then a big drop to Kansas City at 15-1, and then Detroit. Have we had a year like this where it's, typically we get one or two or three teams at the top that have a pretty it looks like a large disparity between the Rams and everybody else this year.
Well, I just think the Rams have dominated the news. I mean, with Donald probably coming back, I mean, defense is just going to be lights out. I still very cautious if their quarterback goes out with a back injury, and I can really talk about back injuries because I'm suffering from one right now. I think they're done. I mean, they're not going to be the Baltimore Ravens who won the Super Bowl because of defense, but they had a running game. They had a really good offensive line. The Ravens did when they won that Super Bowl with Flacco's for sure. So the health of the offense kind of scares me about the Rams. The defense doesn't scare me because not only do they have stars all over the field, but their backup defensive players are really good as well. But I understand why people are betting the Rams because they're dominating social media. They're dominating the news in the NFL. So it would not shock me that they continue to be the bet favorite.
Are we undervalued? You don't hear a whole lot about the Super Bowl champion Seahawks. At least I haven't. I mean, I'm sure it is in the in the Northwest. But are we underselling the Seahawks here?
I mean, you can get them anywhere from 10-1, and I even saw 14-1 on a defending champions who pretty much have everyone back. And they're like, oh, but they lost their running back. Running backs are still a dime a dozen. There's maybe 2 or 3 running backs I cannot say they're a dime a dozen. Everybody else in the league, a running back is a dime a dozen. I think they didn't lose that much of this team. They're still going to have a fantastic defense. Couldn't their quarterback do what he did last year? Last year, he had a chip on his shoulder, brand new jersey. He wanted to show the Vikings that he could still play. He wins a Super Bowl. Who's going to be that team this year that has maybe a new quarterback with a new jersey that can still do that? I think the Seahawks, they have a bullseye in their head. I don't see them repeating, but they are getting disrespected.
Who's the best team in the AFC? I know a lot of people are going to pick Baltimore. Vegas likes Baltimore. Is it Baltimore?
I do not like the Bills or Buffalo. I've been saying this since beginning of last year. The Bills' window's closed. I think the Ravens' window's closed. I think this quarterback with Lamar Jackson still not signed and stuff like that. King Henry gets older every year. I'm not saying that he stinks, but right now, but in the NFL, years past usually catches up to you, and how sooner or later, Father Time's going to catch up to King Henry. Father Time's going to catch up to Lamar Jackson, who got hurt last year. I can't put my hard-earned money on those two teams. I can't put it on the Bengals because they still haven't showed me anything in the defense. That's why I think the NFC, if you can get who's going to win a Super Bowl, NFC or AFC, I would grab the NFC. It's a really short number. NFC just has so many good teams, and the AFC just has so many question marks.
No, they do. Speaking of question marks, and I think I've told you this, I don't talk a lot about them. The Miami Dolphins, that is my favorite team. It always has. Yeah, I know. Look, haven't done anything since Danny Marino. Look, they haven't made the playoffs since 2000. I think that's the longest streak in the NFL. You look at a franchise like that, you have to start scratching your head and go, why? Like, why are they so bad? You look at the Jets, why? Cleveland, why? Some of these franchises, we talk so much about the Super Bowl side, but why are some of these franchises so bad? Does it come down to ownership?
I think it does come down to ownership. I mean, it's not like they're not spending money. I think they're just getting bad advice, and the players that they're spending money on just don't work out. I mean, look at the Jets. How many times did they sign someone and think, oh, this is going to change their season, and it just doesn't. So I think a lot of it has to do with ownership. I don't know what's going on in Miami. That's a big puzzling for me. They did strike out on Tua. They thought he was going to be that quarterback, and he wasn't. I'm glad that they moved on from him now, and maybe because we've talked about this last week. This quarterback class that's coming in next year is really, really, really good. So if you're the Dolphins and all that, okay, maybe yes, let's win less than 4.5 because total season wins is 4.5. I have looked at the Dolphins schedule for the past 2 weeks. I cannot find a 5th win. I have them dead 3 wins.
I can't either.
And I'm not saying it to make fun of the Dolphin fans, and I'm including you. I didn't know you were a Dolphin fan. I cannot find a 5th win.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't know I'm a Dolphin fan because we don't ever talk about them because they're not like literally. I've told Bieber before, even on air on our show on ESPN Radio 105.9. Is last year I thought about doing something I never thought I would do is switching NFL teams. I'm not a big believer in that, But I'm like, man, it's been look. It was the year 2000. We're talking about pre iPhone, pre social media. And why Dan Marino has never gotten more involved with that franchise, I'll never know. Maybe he's tried. I have no idea.
I was at Caesar's Palace in 2000 with the Miami.
Really?
Yep, I was working at Caesar's Palace in their sports book.
We got a few more minutes left here with Rafael Esparzo. We're going to let him tell you where you can get all his content. I got to answer
Sean's question. Sean in the chat, how about them boys?
Oh,
I'm going to say it right here. I'm going to say it right here. I said in a couple shows that I do. I do a lot of shows now. Dallas Cowboys win the division. I don't like the Eagles. I think they might be firing their head coach. I think Hurts is too many people in his head. I think the Dallas Cowboys win the division. I don't like the Commanders, especially with Jane Daniels, number 5 contract. I heard they're ripping him in a locker room. And so when they're making fun of you in a locker room, I bet you a lot of those players think that they're being funny, but actually being harsh at the same time. And he thinks they're just joking around. That's just a horrible, horrible thing to go into the season being a punch of the joke. And it's going to be all season long. It's not going to go away. And I just don't trust the New York Giants. We saw them almost lose their quarterback last week. Yeah. Jackson Dart got crushed. He's going to be maybe in a tent more than they might win wins. So I think it's the Cowboys. I love their offense. They had one of the best drafts. I think their draft had great signings by the defense. And it's hard for me to say Cowboys because my twin brother is a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan. And there's nothing better for me than sending him memes about how bad the Cowboys are. Ooh, and they just lost another one. It makes my day on an NFL Sunday, but I think they win a division.
Could you imagine if the Cowboys make the Super Bowl, how obnoxious that fan base would be?
It would be obnoxious, but it would be good for the league at the same time.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I mean, I know people are like, oh, finally they'll win one, but can you imagine? It's like the Knicks. Look how the Knicks won the NBA champions. That was great for the league. Yeah. Fantastic for the league, and I think it would benefit the league. Yes, we would all still make fun of them. This would be the only Super Bowl champ that Monday we'll all still make fun of them. Fine, it'll be like finally they won a Super Bowl. Yeah, we would still make fun of them, but they're Super Bowl champs. It doesn't matter if we make fun of them on a Super Bowl Monday.
Hey, before we get you out of here, let me ask you this. You probably saw it. Roger Goodell said yesterday, he was on a radio show or a podcast. Hey, yes, he envisions the NFL will have a team overseas at some point. And we've talked about this. They're not playing all these games overseas. I think, what is it? How many games? 7? Maybe I'm understanding this year, yeah. 7 this year. When do we get that team and where is it at maybe?
I think it's probably going to be in England or something like that. I mean, they'll probably just make the Jacksonville Jaguars play there.
Oh, yeah.
That's their second home, and I think that's the knife that might start bringing down the high point of the NFL. I mean, we've seen where it just reminds me of when NASCAR was such in a high peak, and all of a sudden every state wanted 2 races. Instead of 1 race, they went, okay, we want Vegas we want 2 races now in Vegas. And it just dwindled down. And I think if they go overseas, if they put a team there, I think that could be the popularity that brings them down, and not the all mega NFL. So fans are not going to like that. Players are not going to like that. Traveling and stuff like that. I think that brings the NFL back to some. I don't want to say it's not going to be the number 1 sport in America. I'm not saying that, but I think that's going to hurt a lot of fan bases.
Yeah, Sean says he's driving to SoFi if the Cowboys make it though.
We'll be there, Sean. I would love to meet you. I've been to, I think this is my 6th Super Bowl doing Media Row. So, and FanDuel has tried to kick me out 4 straight years. So I'm going to try to make that a record 5 straight.
Really? Do you care to elaborate on that, or is that a cut? No.
No, I mean, because you know me, I do all the crazy prop bets, and it's they don't like me working with non-sanctioned books like MyBookie and stuff like that, and all the other books and stuff like that. And the one in Vegas was the one that really pissed me off because I'm not saying I'm the only one that did Taylor Swift betting odds when the Kansas City Chiefs, but I probably did 80% of the ones that the people were using in Taylor Swift, and everyone wanted to talk to me on press row. Everyone, oh, you're the one that did all that. Yeah, yes. So everyone, but FanDuel was getting so mad. And so then I heard that they were trying to get me to escort it out. They were like, he works there. I'm like, I don't work there. I'm a consultant there. I consult them. I don't have a employee number. I don't have stock on them. But yeah, so and then last year I made odds for. Do you remember that Eli and Peyton were going to kick a field goal?
Yeah,
it was 2 years ago. So I did odds on that, and they couldn't put odds on that. So I was in front of their booth the whole time doing TikTok shorts and stuff like that, saying when the number would move, hey, you can still bet that over here and stuff like that. And they were that was on me. I was poking the bear.
Hey, tell everybody where to follow you on social media channels. We want to come see you.
Yeah, you can follow me on X at VSI.sports. You can follow me on Instagram at Rafael Esparza. I've been putting out a lot of new stuff out there. I have a new segment called "A Trend Is My Cashing Friend." We're 3-0 on a new one, stuff like that. It all depends on what the number you got. I'm glad you mentioned that. Please shop around. If you have DraftKings and FanDuel, also open up another book. My bookie, a perfect example. Notre Dame. Some books have 7-1, 8-1. My bookie has plus 850. Why would you take 7-1 at your DraftKings and fan book when you can get plus 850 in another book? Always shop around to get the best number.
He's Rafael Esparza. You can get him on X. You can get him on his channels. Check him out. Hey, Esparza, appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Take it easy. Have a good one.
Thanks. Rafael Esparza off. We're going to get Rob Brown in here. We are brought to you by MyBookie. Get in and use the promo code PATIO today and play. You'll get that free sign-up bonus out there. Rob Brown, who is early in the morning on sidelines. He's staying up late with us tonight. Rob, thank you, and welcome to the Patio Horoscope.
I love it, man. We actually taken off a couple of weeks, and we're launching our new website and everything Monday. So I love it, man. I don't care morning, midday, night. If I'm on with Jake Wimberly, it is a blast. And just got in from mountain biking. You got to take advantage of the cool time of the day. I think it's only 93 up here in Memphis. It's just, I mean, but you know what? You can feel footballs in the air. It's going to start getting cooler, at least in our heads.
No, you're right. And look, hey, we want to make sure when you get that new website launched, we get that out for you.
Yeah.
Check out. Are y'all on this week?
No, we're not taking off this week. My wife, we haven't taken off in, I don't know, 5 years.
Wow.
And so we're launching the new website. It's going to be sidelines.live, and we'll have links to your stuff and everything on there. It's really, really going to be proactive. And the bottom line is we want people to go there, follow us, and follow our guests, because you're a regular on the show, and we can't do it without you. It ain't about me. It's about all of us.
Likewise. Well, let's talk a little SEC football. We got week 0 coming up next week. Well, first off, let me ask you this. We were talking about the deal, and I'm sure you saw it today. A Louisiana judge dropped the hammer and basically gave a TRO, a temporary restraining order, where some of these guys can come back to college. Now, think about this. They're in NFL camps right now. And you got 3 from Ole Miss, 1 from LSU. You got several out there. And if you haven't seen that, let me pull that back up, guys, real quick. Let me pull this up on X just so you can see it. And let me share this just real quick. Sorry about that. Right here. And you can see this on X. Former LSU edge rusher Jack Pyburn and current Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive end filed a lawsuit today against the NCAA seeking a preliminary injunction that would give him the option to return to college. And there's several guys on this list. Rob, this is, I don't know what we're doing now here, less than 2 weeks away from week 1.
Well, Pyburn was the transfer from Florida who came to LSU. This is insanity, but it's not unbelievable, because I believe anything can happen now. With nobody's in charge. And like my kids, your kids probably tell you the same thing. It's the adults that are allowing this stuff to happen, and allowing guys, once you are gone from college, you can't come back. Charles Bediako case at Alabama was a perfect example of that. He came back and he was pushed back out. They got to stop this stuff. Just like Jaden Daniels' ridiculous claim that his people around him, that LSU can't use that number 5 jersey. You got to stop it. And what the NCAA needs are antitrust laws. They've got to have them.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, let's step into the state of Mississippi. I want to get your thoughts on, and we've talked about it, but it's just now we're right here. Like I said, you can smell it now, even though it's hot in the South. Football's here. Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss named earlier this week to the Athletic as the number 1 quarterback in the All-American team. He's now got 2 or 3 or 4 of those. Kewan Lacey, also first-team All-American, another notch in the belt for him. Boy, it looks like, in talking to Michael Katz today on my show on ESPN Radio, who covers Ole Miss for the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal, he says, hey, they're saying this defense may be as good as the 24 defense. That's a big statement. Are we underselling Ole Miss?
I think they are. I've had, we've talked about this for months. My top 5, I've got Georgia and Ole Miss playing in the SEC championship game, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Texas A&M, and Oklahoma are my other 3 top 5 teams. But there's just this myth out there that Pete Golding wasn't a good coach. You cannot survive on Nick Saban's staff for 5 years as a defensive coordinator unless you're an elite coach. I don't know why they have narratives. They want to take this guy out. We had a guy on our show a couple of weeks ago who called Pete Golding a poor man's Dabo Sweeney. Say what you want about Dabo. He's 137 and 30 since 2014. They've had a few rough years. They just signed more guys, by the way, in the portal at Clemson, 9 than they did the previous 5 years combined. But back to Trinidad Chambliss and Ole Miss, I got them playing for the championship. We had Greg McElroy, Sidelines.live. My show is a sponsor, one of them, of the Touchdown Club in Memphis. Last Monday, I sponsored Greg McElroy to come up here, and we were talking. Up on stage, Harold Grader does a great Q&A format. And Tony Barnhart, by the way, is coming in Monday. Shameless plug. But support your quarterback in your touchdown clubs. And by God, my wife actually, when I was telling her I was going to be on your show, she loves you because what you do for the high school and middle Mississippi. I absolutely love it. But you go back, McElroy said, there are people questioning Byron Brown at Auburn coming from South Florida. Will that carry over to the SEC? He said, let me ask y'all something. Diego Pavia came from that football powerhouse, New Mexico State. How did it work out for him and Vandy? Trinidad Chambliss, now, he came from Division II Ferris State. He was an afterthought, kind of like buying a second insurance policy. How'd that work out? He's the best quarterback in the SEC, along with Gunnar Stockton. So, yeah, they're underselling Ole Miss. There's a narrative that doesn't allow Ole Miss to fit in. Remember George Carlin's famous rant about it's a club and we're not in it? Yep. That's how you feel if you're Ole Miss. And I'm a Memphian. I'm an Auburn grad, but I love Ole Miss. I got so many Ole Miss and Mississippi State friends. It's insane. They are going to be there. And the defense, Sunterrain Perkins is another one. They've got a lot of really good players. And Golding, if he can still keep his hand in there, is going to be a hell of a coach.
Let's pivot over to Starkville. We've talked Kamario Taylor with you before. We've talked Jeff Lebby. If we got the time machine, me and you got in the DeLorean, and we fast forwarded to August 19th, 2020.
Chuck Oliver.
There you go.
I love it.
Yep. Yeah, I love Chuck too. And by the way, tell Tony hello when you see him next week. Love Tony Barnhart. Tony's great. He's been on for a long time. August 19th, 2027. Jeff, are we talking Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State?
Well, they got to learn how to win. They lost all their close games last year, and now you're going to have Kamario Taylor. His performance in the Egg Bowl when he had 173 yards rushing was exceptional. But they've got Zach Arnett. He's humbled himself. He's back coaching the defense. They got to learn how to win. And I believe that, they're 1-15 in his first 2 years there, but you look at the games last year, Tennessee, the Texas, the Florida losses. I got to believe that they're going to figure out how to win those. And I know I'm biased. I do like Jeff Lebby a lot, and I like Mississippi State. I've been to 37 games down there over the years. Love that place. Dan Mullen won there. His 9 years are pretty good. But if they don't win, if they get off to a slow start and looking at their schedule, Mississippi State, ULM at Minnesota. If they win at Minnesota, then they can win at South Carolina. Yeah. So they got to win at least 3 in September, or I don't see him coming back.
No, totally agree. I've said that Minnesota week 2 game is the season for them. It really is. Yeah. In the Big Ten. All right, Alabama, first time AP comes out this week. I know you've had a chance to chalk through and look at it. Lowest ranking in the AP in probably 17 years. I can't remember the exact number. Betting odds. Talking with Rafael Esparza, who was just on Vegas Insider. Lowest odds for Alabama in probably 17 years, 15 years. But are we undervaluing Alabama?
All right. Last time Alabama came into the season ranked this low was 2008, okay? We know what they did. They went on the road, got that win over Clemson at the beginning of the season, I think.
Yeah.
So Alabama last year with the worst running game since 1956. Ears Whitworth was the coach. He should have been given a lifetime contract, but he wasn't, and they brought in Coach Bryant. It was a different story from there on out. I think that they couldn't run the ball a lick last year, okay? They still won 11 games. But their problem is not just on the offensive line. Freddie Roach is not a great defensive line coach. I've got Alabama, unless the offensive line is way better, and I don't see it, I got them winning 7 or 8 games, and I'm not anti-Alabama. My oldest daughter graduated from Alabama. She's still a good person. I'm just telling you, they can't. Ryan Grubb loses his job at Seattle because they couldn't run the ball. Comes to Alabama, his first year there, they have the worst running game since 1956. Now, if a dog will bite, he'll do it when he's a pup. I don't, E.J. Crowell, they're counting on a true freshman. The last time a true freshman led the team in rushing was 1985 when Gene Jelks came there out of Emma Sansom High School in Gadsden, Alabama, 576 yards and 7 touchdowns. They also had Bobby Humphrey in that backfield too. But I think Alabama, revenge doesn't win you any games either. They should beat Florida State, but you're bringing in a new quarterback, a true freshman. I think that Keelan Russell's going to get it. So no, I think they're probably overrated right now based on they can't run the ball.
Visiting with Rob Brown with Sidelines. Of course, he's off this week. I'll have his website next week. And, of course, his show is fantastic. Make sure to give a follow on X and check them out on YouTube as well. Subscribe to their show. They're on in the mornings, by the way, 8 to 9. Great SEC show, great college football show. All right, so we've talked Oklahoma before. We've talked Auburn. Who are we underselling? I mean, like if you were picking somebody where we're talking in November, second week in November, we're getting into the third or fourth week of the college football playoff poll, or actually it'd be like the second now because they're moved this thing back. Who could we be talking about?
It's an even year. South Carolina under Shane Beamer, 8-4 in 22, 9 wins in 24. I do think Lenora Sellers, he hasn't been completely healthy in a while. They've got a chance to be better. They could surprise me. Also, Florida, Auburn. Auburn has forgotten how to win. You had the worst coach in Auburn history, Brian Harsin, followed by the worst coach in Auburn history, Hugh Freeze, back to back. Yeah. That's hard to overcome, but they forgot how to win. I love John Summerall, portability of success. He won at Troy, played for the championship both years there, won both years at Tulane, played for the conference championship. I like him. And I think we're underselling Tennessee. Jim Knowles coming in, and you can't install a defense that fast, but he will make their defense markedly better than they were last year. But they were number 4 or 5 in the country in total offense last year. Rodney Garner's still coaching that defensive line, so they'll have players there. And arguably top 2, 3 offensive line in the SEC, which would put them top 7 or 8 in the country, and Deshaun Bishop in the backfield. But again, quarterback. But one thing Josh Heupel can do is he can find you a quarterback. So those are some teams. And I think Missouri might surprise people struggling because like Ole Miss the last 4 years, they had the easier schedule. That's going to flip now. They did win 29 games, but Missouri, unlike Ole Miss, which beat a lot of signature, teams, Missouri hadn't beat a good team the last 3 years, even though they won 29 games.
Can Texas A&M make that next step? They've been close the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think, and talking to Pete Cordelli and Ellis Johnson and a lot of smart coaches we have on the show, I like Mike Elko. I think he's a really smart coach. I think when he started working first at A&M in 2018, I think I heard a stat. They've had more defensive linemen from A&M go to the NFL since 2018 than any SEC school. Oddly enough, Alabama last few years hadn't had any. They had them regularly going every year, even guys that only started 9 or 10 games like Quinnen Williams, who went number 3. Yeah, were part of a great system. You watch Ole Miss. You think Pete Golding didn't learn anything in the 5 years he was there? You're crazy with Nick Saban. And Nick, again, you don't survive 5 years with that guy if you're not good.
No, you're right. Absolutely right. Vanderbilt, they take a step back this year?
Well, Jared Curtis he's got to be the highest rated recruit in that school's history. Out of Nashville Christian. He was committed to Georgia for 18 months. Because Beck is there, Jerry Kill's there, Clark Lee, he's got those guys. One thing he said in 24 in Dallas before the season, this was the first year of Diego Pavia. He said, actually rode on the elevator with him and his wife, and he was sweating just like you and I are right now. It's so hot. It is so hot. I'm in a 7,000 square foot house and it is so hot. And I mean, I feel like I'm in a jungle, but he said something that most people didn't even pay attention to. But he said, for the first time since I've been here at Vanderbilt, we have every guy on this football team in this building signed up for our vision, our manifestation of Vanderbilt football. And as Chuck Oliver would say, that's not nothing. It's a big deal. So you brought that culture of Jerry Kill. You know, Jerry Kill as a coach at Minnesota, New Mexico State, and everywhere, he's won 176 games. And he's been at some places it's not easy to win. I think Vanderbilt's got a culture now. I think at a minimum they win 6 or 7. So, yeah, that's a step back from 10. But after the 23 season, Clark Lee told us at the Touchdown Club last year, I told the athletic director, Candace Lee, if you're not going to fund it, we just drop the program because we can't compete on this level.
Rob, before we let you go, and I appreciate you joining us tonight, let me ask you a quick question about high school football, just at a broad spectrum in the state of Tennessee. I know you're right there in the Memphis area. We know there's some really good high school football right there. Talk about how that might compare in that state to Mississippi. You know how big it is down here as we get ready to kick it off kind of week 0 this week with the private schools. Next week, we'll have our week 1 with everybody playing. But just that excitement and what it's like in the state of Tennessee.
I think in West Tennessee, you know, Memphis, my high school, Christian Brothers High School, the largest all-boys school in the state, hadn't won a state championship in almost 50 years. They played for a bunch of them. MUS, on the other hand, a really good program. They dropped spring practice in 2001, and since then they've won 4 state titles and been runner-up 4 times. In the spring, they just make the football players play lacrosse or do track and field or do both. Other than that, you got to look at the mid-state, man. It's ridiculous. The Nashville teams, Ensworth, MBA, Father Ryan, outstanding. And then it's another level. McCauley and Baylor and Chattanooga, they're bringing in guys in BC, my friend, no birth certificate. I honestly don't think. I know friends of mine whose kids play them and they're going, you remember the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High when Jefferson, the big football stud, the guy saw him one night out and he goes, hey, I didn't know he went to school here. I thought he just flew in on the weekends for the games. That's what you've got in Tennessee. You look at Mississippi, high school football in that state, per capita, they put more players in the NFL than any state in America because it does matter. When I drive down to Orange Beach on 45, I call it the land that time forgot. It's the old way to Destin. Every one of those towns, Scuba, you know, you go through Macon, you go through all these places like, you know, Waynesboro. It's so big in the Delta, in the mid-state. Then you got places like Moss Point. Mississippi's 2 million, well, probably 4.5 million fewer people. But the all-star team from Mississippi, I hate to say it, would curb stomp the all-star team from Tennessee. They're just better athletes. And I think there's so many more small towns in Mississippi with paper mills, and you put those two together, that's a 1 + 1 = 3. I love high school football, and I love being on your show. You make me just love football even more, and all sports, by the way.
Absolutely. Rob, before we let you go and let you take a break for the night and get ready to go, get ready to do another one tomorrow, tell everybody about your new website, where they can find you. We want them to follow and check you guys out for football.
Yeah, we do it year round. We hadn't taken off in a while, but it's Sidelines, SIDELINES .live. And, you know, I've had that name since 87. So it's like 41 years or something, but that's my domain that I own. We are heavy on the SEC, but I was thinking about this thing. There's a lot of compelling stories in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Troy, Alabama. You know, you've got stories all over at USA and Mobile, Tulane, in addition to the SEC, and Memphis and Arkansas State. So, yeah, I like to say this. We cover college football, basketball, and baseball in the South like kudzu and cotton. We love our audience, and we focus really on 3 things: the history, the traditions, and the heroes. We stay out of politics. We stay in production, and we absolutely love our audience. I don't care what team you're a fan of. You're all welcome here. And, by the way, you're watching Jake right now. That show 3 to 6 in the afternoon. Put the app on your phone. You can watch ESPN if you want to, but I would listen to Jake.
Rob, you're a gentleman and a scholar. Look, I hope you have a great Wednesday night, and we will do it again soon, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. You do as well. We'll see you next week on the show.
You got it. See you then.
All right.
Rob Brown on the show with us tonight as we get ready to close it. Make sure to follow me on X at Jake Wim. Subscribe on YouTube, and, of course, check us out on Facebook. My Facebook's wide open at Jake Wimberly. You can follow us there and get in at mybookie.ag. Use the promo code PATIO and you'll get a great sign-up bonus as we'll get more into win totals next edition of the program. We'll get into all kinds of stuff. That's mybookie.ag. Use the promo code PATIO today. We're going to sign off for tonight. I hope you have a great Wednesday night. Try to stay cool. It's hot out there. Football's almost here. See ya